Since leaping into the world of serverless, Critter Junction's been reaching new limits, but I've got a few tricks to take it up to the next level. Stay tuned. A core promise of serverless compute platforms like Cloud Run and Cloud Functions is that you don't need to worry about your infrastructure. Your service scales automatically. That works great when your whole stack auto-scales, but what if your service depends on API or databases with rate or connection limits? That's what happened with Critter Junction's new companion app, codenamed the Wallet app. It allows users to send and receive virtual currency over a marketplace. Every time a user sends or receives cash, the change to the user wallet data in the database kicks off a Cloud function to return a confirmation. Cloud Function is a lightweight serverless compute solution that lets you create single-purpose and standalone functions that respond to cloud events. And because serverless compute products are stateless, they use Cloud SQL, a fully managed relational database service for stateful data like user wallet amounts. After the Wallet app gained popularity because of YouTube live streamers, Cloud SQL's maximum connection limit was reached. And that meant the upstream functions weren't able to provide new wallet amount confirmations. So my team came in to give them a few tips to scale the Wallet app and any future serverless workloads they plan to deploy. Let's review how serverless functions scale as you take a function from your local computer to the cloud. A function takes inputs and provides an output response. That function can be repeated with many inputs and provide many outputs. A serverless platform manages the elastic horizontal scaling of function instances. Because Google Cloud can give you near infinite scale, that can have consequences for other systems that your function interacts with. So what do? Well, a lot of what I'm about to tell you involves applying limits to operations to protect underlying services and resources. First off, you can configure instant scaling limits to your functions. Cloud Functions offer max instance settings. This feature limits how many concurrent instances of your functions are running and attempting to establish database connections. So if your database can only handle 100 concurrent connections, you might set your max instances to a lower value, say 75. Since each instance of a function can only handle a single request at a time, this means you can only handle 75 concurrent requests at a given time, saving your database from maxing out at its rate limit even during a spike. Second, use Cloud Tasks to limit the rate of work done. Sometimes the limit you're worried about isn't the number of concurrent connections, but the rate at which work is performed. For example, imagine you need a call to an external API that has a limited per-minute quota. Cloud Tasks is a fully managed service that lets you manage the execution, dispatch, and delivery of distributed tasks. You can manage the way work gets done and perform the work outside of the serverless handlers in work queues. Cloud Tasks supports rate and concurrency limits, so regardless of its rate at which work arrives, it's performed with rates applied. For example, if large influx of API requests come in, Cloud Tasks can buffer the rate at which your request can be handled by the API. Third, use stateful storage to defer the results from long-running operations. Sometimes you want your functions to be able to defer work that might take a while, but still give a response to the caller that the task was received. You want to send the results of the task to the caller eventually, also known as long-running operations. For example, it might not make sense to encode a large video file inside a serverless instance. You could use Cloud Tasks if the caller of your workload only needs to know that the request was submitted. But if you want the caller to be able to retrieve a status or eventual result, you need an additional stateful system to track that job. There are several ways you can do this using a combination of Cloud Functions, Cloud PubSub, and Firestore. While Critter Junction has just started to explore serverless with cloud-native apps like the Layout and Wallet apps, they're constantly revisiting how to improve performance and scalability, like using max serverless instances, Cloud Tasks to limit the rate of work, and stateful storage for long-running operations. For more details on these tips and an awesome decision tree, check out the link below and stay tuned for our next serverless scaling tips. And remember, always be architecting.